we can either get our act together, which means to voluntarily subject ourselves to the flaming sword as an individuals, or that will be impressed upon us as a necessity from without. And how intense that will get, we're going to find out.
I wondered if there's a Jordan Peterson prediction. So if Dostoevsky said socialism would kill 100 million, if Nietzsche said that we've killed God and there won't be enough water to mop up the blood, what's your prediction for the future? What do you see?
Well, I've thought this for quite a long time, but it's more obvious now. We'll either subject ourselves to an internal or an external approximation of the apocalypse. And so we can either get our act together, which means to voluntarily subject ourselves to the flaming sword as an individuals, or that will be impressed upon us as a necessity from without. And how intense that will get, we're going to find out, because it's coming very fast. And this is going to be a rough winter. And we've done everything we could to make it rough, because this is, whatever happens this winter is pretty much 100% self-inflicted.
Yeah. So you're here is a political reference you're making then,
well,
about
the energy
crisis and inflation and it.
Yeah. Well, specifically the energy issue, because it was absolutely obvious that what's happening right now was going to happen. It was, if you had your eyes open vaguely for the last 10 years, thought, oh, I see where that's headed. And now we're there. And why? Because we went there. So, and we did that as moral posturers.
Do you see any hope then, or do you see anyone with the leadership to navigate us through that sort of?
Well, we'll see. You know, I've met lots of great people who have true leadership ability. A lot of that true leadership ability is what true leaders do, just so everyone knows, is they go out and listen to people. Like, really listen. What's your problem? What's your problem? What's your problem? And then they aggregate all the problems. Then at least they know what the problems are. And then they listen. What do you want? What would you like to see as an alternative? They aggregate all that. And then that's a bottom-up movement in some real sense. Like, well, here's the problems, is what everyone's saying. Here's the commonalities across what they're saying. Here's what people would want. Well, then the leaders figure out how to make that happen. And then people are happy because it matches their needs. Now that can become corrupt, because if you're having problems, you can look for someone to blame, and that's the process that the left-wingers accuse the right-wingers of manifesting in the form of populism, right? And I think that was one of Trump's temptations, was to listen to the problems, manifest themselves as resentment, and then offer a solution based on resentment. And the left-wingers do that too, obviously, and perhaps even more egregiously. But that's not a good solution. A solution is a better vision. And do we have leaders that can provide that? We're struggling for a better vision. And I would say a lot of the activism on the left, to give the devil its due, is also the struggling for a better vision. The notion that we should be stewards of the environment, which is a much better way of conceptualizing it. Caretakers.
Conservers.
Conservers, yeah.
You'd think the conservatives would embrace it more.
Right,
but anyway.
right. Well, and tenders of the garden, right? Keepers of the garden. That's our divine obligation, let's say. That there's something in that's part of what drives the environmentalist ethos on the positive front. The negative front is something like, human beings are a cancer on the planet, and we're the despoilers of nature, and we're viewed as antithetical to the natural order instead of an emergent part of the natural order. And we're obliged to shoulder an anti-nihilist burden of guilt for violating the natural order. And like you can see an impulse in that to tending, but you can also see it being warped in a terrible way by guilt and shame and accusation and envy and the desire for revenge on God for creating such an appalling place, let's say. And that's what it is most fundamentally. And that's the spirit of Cain.